This printer can print up to 10 lines per second. This printer can print up to 10 lines per second.
Okay, thanks for joining me. Lesson 12. We're going to take another look at functions. This one will be a little more complex than the last one. So I have Atom open here with bare bones HTML. Pause and copy this if you need to, and let's get started. Okay, by the way, save it. Make sure you put .html as a suffix. I'm calling mine test. You call it whatever you want. My original code was called add function because that's what we're going to be building. But call it whatever you want. Add function's pretty good. Okay, so we're going to prompt the user for some input. The way we do that is prompt, and you have to spell prompt correctly. Prompt, and then we enter some text here. What are we prompting for? And I'm going to say enter a number. Okay. And then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to save that, and I'm going to load my test. And it's prompting me for a number. So I'll put a number in, 45, okay. Voila, it doesn't do anything with it. Close this old test down. All right, let's go back to our code. I can shrink this a little bit. All right, so we didn't do anything with the number, and that's why we didn't see anything on our web page. So let's try this. Let's say let num1, because we're going to have more than one, let num1 equal prompt. And then let's do something with it. Let's console log it. Console log. Oh, condole log. Console log num1. Save that, reload. 67. Oh. We need a console log. Developer, so go to, remember your console, view, developer, Javascript console, and there's 67. All right, that works fine. Let's get another number. So I'm going to copy this whole line, copy it, paste it. I'm going to call this number 2. And then instead of saying enter number, I'm going to say enter a second number. Save that. Now we need to do something with that. How about if we do this? Console log num1 plus num2. See what that does. Save. All right, I'm going to say num1 is enter number 5, enter second number 6. Look at our console log. So it gave us a result of 56 or 56. So what happened there is it added the input as text. So this is text addition here, otherwise called concatenation, I'm sorry, concatenation. But we want to add numbers. So what we need to do in our code is we need to tell JavaScript that we want to convert this prompt input into a number. And the way we do that is we say, we got to run it through a method called parse int. And then we run that whole prompt. Notice the parentheses. We run that whole prompt, I'll create a space here. Run that whole prompt input through this method called parse int. Okay, I'm going to do that down here too. I'll create a space here so it's more readable. Now let's see if we get addition correctly. Save that, run it, enter a number, and number 3, second number 2, and there's 5. And it's blue. Blue means it's a number. The last output was black, meaning it's text. Okay, so it actually added the number, which is our goal. All right, so that's interesting, but where's our function? All right, so we're going to create a function to add these numbers. All right, but first I want to add some HTML because I want to output into the HTML. So I'm going to add a paragraph tag, ID equals, I'm going to call it output. Put that in quotes, and I'm going to put dot, dot, dot. Well, that'll be a placeholder until it gets output. Okay, so now down here we've got to grab that HTML element, and the way we do that is we create a variable, let output equal document get element by ID, and the ID is output. Now you may have noticed that the the ID is the same word or same name as the JavaScript variable. They don't have to be. This JavaScript variable could be anything. The ID is output because we declared it as output, but I do that just so it's not as confusing. But you can call this variable anything you want. Okay, let's just test the output. So let's say output dot inner text equals num1, just to test it. See if that works. So let's reload it. Enter number 2. Enter second number 1. Okay, so it gave me num1 as an output here. Okay. And okay, so we know that works. I don't need this anymore. Okay, now let's build a function. We're going to build a function to add those numbers and then to output the addition, which will be a new number called sum, into the output, the HTML here. So function, I'm going to call it add nums, and we're going to pass it 2 numbers. We could pass it as many numbers as we want, but in this case we only have 2 numbers, so we could create more, but we don't need to. N1 comma N2, and then we're going to say let sum equal N1 plus N2. And then we're going to say output, just like we did before, inner text equals sum. Okay? So you may be wondering, why is this N1 and N2? Because we're going to pass it these numbers, and they're called num1 and num2. Well, here's why. When we call this, we didn't write the call statement here. So let's put that in here. This will explain it a little bit. We need to call this function, otherwise nothing's going to happen. So add num, and we need to pass it 2 numbers. Which numbers are we passing it? This is nums. We're passing in N1 and N2. So, I'm sorry, num1, comma, I'm confusing myself here, num2. Because right here we created this number, we inputted it, we inputted this number, and now we're passing it to this function. Now this function doesn't really care what we call it, but they have to be different names. As long as we use this N1 and N2 in our function, that's all it cares about. And really we don't want to call these numbers the same, give them the same names as these numbers. We don't want to do that, because we may end up using num1 and num2 to run in different functions. So we don't want to have num1 and num2 everywhere. Okay, so in this function we give it different names as long as we're consistent. Here they are, n1, n2. All right, let's see what happens. Enter number 7. Enter second number 3. and there's 10. Okay, we're not using the console, so we don't have any output there. Okay, so play around with that. Change, maybe add another number, or 3 or 4. Get 3 or 4 numbers and add them all together. Maybe calculate the averages. Play around with that function. And that is it for lesson 12. Another look at functions. I lost my monitor output. I'm just looking. I lost my monitor output. I don't know why, but I hope this is recording, because if it's not,